Recording in progress.
Good afternoon. It is now 2 p.m. on Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. I'd like to call the Community Impact Grants Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you take the roll, please?
Pugh,
Here.
Livingston,
Here.
Barron, Mackey,
Here.
English.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is approval of minutes from September 16th, 2025.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
A motion and a second for approval. Any discussion?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Next is the adoption of the agenda. Administrator Brown?
I received no requested changes, Madam Chair.
Hearing none from the body, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Item four, excuse me, 4 is items for discussion/action, which is 4A, the fiscal year 2027 application with draft guidelines and an application. I do want to point out, just for committee members, at our last meeting, we went through previous, I guess, an update report on awards that were given and status. There were some questions for additional information to be provided. That was provided to you under separate confidential cover. So that information was provided. You do have it in your packet. If you have any additional questions regarding the information, feel free to follow up with staff, but that is for information. And so the item today for discussion and action is our grant application for fiscal year 2027. At our last meeting, we left with an action item for council members to provide recommended changes for the grant application. I did not receive any suggested changes, nor did staff. And so we do need to move forward in order to stay with our agenda, or timeline, excuse me, to meet the deadline of, I believe it's December 1st, where the application goes live. We need to continue to move forward. So today, I wanted to bring forward my recommendations and then for discussion so that we can move forward with the full body. Turn to page 8 of your packet. It begins the first page of the application. You'll see some changes noted within red at the top that reflects the date. And I will say that one of my first recommended changes as we move into the new grant application cycle is to, we had a lot of conversations around what are community partners, how is it defined, what does that look like? And we really did not, I think, come to a consensus, nor did I receive feedback. And so based upon that, I think the recommendation would be that we get away from community partners and just have an open, competitive grant process as a whole with the amount that is set aside. Open for discussion on that first point or recommendation. Recognize Councilman Livingston.
I didn't submit any changes. I could reference that because I was okay with the community partnerships. I didn't still need to submit anything reference to that. I just don't want to not give credit for those groups or organizations that just obviously have a significant role in our community and it may be some of the ones, and all of them, 3 of them, 4 of them, but I just didn't want to miss an opportunity for a great organization that provides significant benefit for. That's why.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Livingston, for that feedback. I think the conversation had been we needed to set parameters to define how folks get on the list. And so I understand wanting to keep them, but we do need to set parameters. And if we can't figure out what the parameters are, I think it becomes hard to communicate transparently to our organizations. Ms. Pugh?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, it's crazy. I totally agree with both. I hear what Mr. Livingston is saying because we have community partners that do make a significant impact in the community. But at the same time, I think just opening it up as a competitive process without having community partners, because we can't get a clear definition on what a community partner is, we are going to alienate and exclude those people that could possibly fill out the application and be competitive with these specific grants. So I definitely like the fact that we're going to leave it open and just make it one big competitive process.
Councilwoman English.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think, forgive us for not doing this, but I really do feel like we need to have a more definitive definition as to what that is. And having said that, with Department of Disabilities, one of the things that we do is advocacy. And if our grants don't focus on advocacy, we don't have any grants, period, point blank. Every grant has to meet that minimum criteria. And so in saying that, is there, with our partners, so to speak, is there a minimum criteria that we can come up with that says, hey, they impact the community, or hey, they do this? And that's just a question. So that's why I said forgive us for not having a clearer definition of that.
No, I appreciate the question. I think it's a valid question, and I think it's one that has been discussed in this committee and within the body for well over a year. And it doesn't seem to be that there is a solution that folks have. And so, I'm not a person oftentimes trying to create something that doesn't exist. And so I feel as if enough time has gone by and if folks haven't identified a clear mechanism of such, that tends to tell me that maybe there isn't one. And that's okay. I think that's okay. And that's why I guess I want everybody to feel there's nothing that states that it had to be a certain way. We created it and we've done it for 3 years, and I haven't seen where it's come bubbling to the top a clear definition. And so instead of trying to continue to force that, I say let's open it up, and still all those folks can still apply. And I think I'm open to looking at, changing possibly what the dollar amount is. And so instead of 50,000, maybe we can increase the dollar amount, but open it up and not having the label of community partners, because it doesn't seem as if we have a clear definition of that. And I just feel from looking at organizations that apply, I do feel like we should be able to answer that question by now, and we haven't.
Well said. And I guess it's kind of like you were saying, I felt like I'm trying to force a definition that's not there. So thank you for that.
Mr. Livingston, you recognize?
Yeah, and I could live with that. I still would afford, in organizations opportunity to get funding, doesn't matter. But if we're gonna do that, I would, like to consider at least, setting some parameters for the amount though. In other words, I think the org-
I'm sorry, I do see a few council members have joined us online. Thank you, Councilwoman Aileen and Councilwoman Newton for joining us. Feel free to participate as you will. All right, so I'll make a motion to remove the community partners designation from our fiscal year 2027 grant.
Second.
A motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
No?
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
So next, I think it would be to look at, and I'm going to say this, but I don't have any thoughts. If there's any feedback on the amount, we've always set aside up to 1 mil. I think we've all been in agreement that that has been a good amount, and so we can keep that the same as we know that amount, specific amount we won't know until later, but as of right now, we have set it as up to 1 mil.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Moving forward, the grant timeline needs to remain as is, just for us to effectively deliver. So would not recommend any changes there. As far as eligibility, I think we keep the same. I don't think we had any issues with eligibility. But when looking at our key impact areas, we did have discussion around those areas during our last committee meeting, and just want to make sure folks still feel good about those key impact areas and did not have any other thoughts or changes that they wanted to express to the key impact areas. That would be on page 9, and it's highlighted in yellow. And just as a reminder, we had the conversation about having a separate bullet for workforce training. No discussion, I think we're good, and we don't need
That's
to
what we
take,
agreed on last time.
so everybody's good? Okay, so we don't need to take action on that, because we did that the last time. And then moving forward, the rest of the application would technically stay the same, I would assume, if folks are still good with application evaluation, the point summary, all the things that we've used in the past would stay the same.
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
before I forget this one. Do we have any way, particularly with the point system, wherever, do we kind of account for a question about sustainability? In other words, I want to know what's the likelihood, what will happen if the money, all the money go away that we're giving you this year? I mean, are you gonna be sustainable next year? Some question around sustainability, I think, might be helpful in the future. And it may be a part, when you're talking about, I don't know, program impact or somewhere else, can we insert sustainability somewhere so they can respond to that?
Madam Chair.
Can I, yes, sir.
Oh, were you getting ready to answer it?
No, I was gonna ask a follow-up question to what he was suggesting so I could understand.
So if you look on, I'm showing what is to be page 9 of 25. There is right at the second to last bullet point says sustainability, how will the program be sustained in years following any award from the county?
And we, that's my point is, can we assert that somewhere where, we do the point selection, so that way we'll know that it means something, we're accounting for it. That's my main point. I want to give them credit for it when they submit an application.
I guess my clarifying question, Ms. Livingston, because I understood where you were going, you wanted the points, but are you saying that they lose points
No,
if they
no.
do? Or are you saying, because the question, I mean, if they're sustained, so you want to know that they can sustain without our money, or you want to know they won't be able to sustain? Which one are
They
you?
won't be able to, if our money go away.
And so will they lose points for that, or not get as high a score?
Not get as high points. For example, let's say if you put it under the first one, I don't know,
Okay.
project impact, it would still be within that 30 points, but you're gonna consider that as one of those factors.
So you couldn't get the full 30?
Right. Yeah.
If you couldn't sustain, then that
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
allow you
yeah.
to meet the full.
That changed the point structure so much as it, it being counted in one of those categories somewhere.
Administrator Brown, is that doable in the current structure that we have?
If that is a factor that you want to have included from a point perspective, the answer is yes. I think probably what I would just give me a quick sec to see if we can clarify, what level of factor, so maybe you can't get the full points, but what rating is that? Is that 50%, 30%, 20%? So let me get some clarity around that and see if I can get it right now. But if not, there may be something where we just maybe can come to full council assuming that you move this forward, and then have an understanding of here's what we see in terms of the point structure and how this would impact. And
I think to simplify for me, what I was thinking, let's say, for example, you put it in the category, let's say in project impact, you have 5 items there. If you make it a number 6, then you just weigh it with the other ones, so you're still gonna only get 30 points. So that's just gonna be one of the factors within that 30 points.
understood.
So it doesn't change, your point structure in a sense either.
I
It's
understand
just
what you're
account for some indication that, we think sustainability is important, that's all.
Yes, sir.
Because you're right to be confused if you go in and try to add, change the point structure, do different things. I don't want to do that. I just want it to be accounted for somewhere a little bit.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Livingston.
just think about it. If you don't think it's worthy of doing that, just do it. That's just a suggestion. I don't have any heartburn about whether you put it in or not.
Well, I guess I was asking Mr. Livingston, could it be even just a yes/no question? Even if we didn't affect the points, could it just be pulled out so that, when we do the spreadsheet, we can see yes or no? Or did you points? Because even if they can't do points, I think it'd still be good to know one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm fine how you're gonna do it. I just know that when I'm looking at applications, I want to be able to have some idea of sustainability. To me, it just doesn't make sense to fund somebody and nothing happens the next year, yeah.
So we can do it and have it factor into the point structure.
Okay, and
However, say I think it might work or whatever, then it's fine with me.
And do you have, I guess, so where we have a breakdown on the application evaluation, you're able to update one of these categories to include sustainability? Is that?
You want to show what you were talking about? So, yes, ma'am. So, what the clerk was showing is, you want to point out that? Okay. We were looking at the way the structure, they're broken down and the number of items under each one. So one thought is how do we get those to where the numbers make sense in terms of proportionate? But the answer to your question is yes, we can add into one of the project categories under the points and allow it to address what you're saying, Mr. Livingston. So I guess the clerk is asking under which particular area would you prefer it to go under? Or do you want us to come to you at the council meeting and share with you what that looks
Yeah, I'm
like?
fine.
Okay. So yes, we can do it, Madam Chair, members of council.
Yes, I move that we insert, in somewhere under the punch structure, sustainability, get some idea of the sustainability of a particular project.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, under page 12, it says, is there another confirmed source of revenue to assist with this project slash program? Would that help in any way, Mr. Livingston? That one's up to 15 points.
You talking about where to put it or what?
Isn't that what you were talking about, Mr. Brown?
So that is one area that is captured, but I don't know if that necessarily still addresses the direct question. I do see the relevance, but I think to Mr. Livingston's point, you could have another confirmed source of revenue that you're relying on, that it's not ours, where you could still answer that question of sustainability differently, that could be factored in.
Thank you, sir.
No further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes?
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, so I think the remaining item that we need to discuss would be related to the dollar amount for each organization. I think we should look at a funding up to amount for one project. Yes, ma'am, you had something? Oh, okay, I'll repeat it. Yes, ma'am. So now that we are doing a fully competitive process, we discussed currently our competitive grant process that an organization can get funding up to $50,000 for one project. Since we made the motion to remove the community partners designation and make all of the grants competitive, there was a desire to have discussion around increasing that up to dollar amount for a particular project. So open to hearing any proposed up to dollar amount. Does that help, Ms. English? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You recognize.
So that up to amount in the past has been $50,000, am I correct?
Yes, it has.
Okay, all right.
I am looking for folks, any thoughts? There was said to be thoughts on the dollar amount, so this is the time to share said thoughts.
Madam Chair?
You recognize.
I think keeping it up to $50,000 would be a great idea. And if we change the dollar amount to more, and we don't have community partners anymore, I think, we're just leaving ourselves that kind of dangling out there. So I think up to $50,000 will work well.
Thank you.
My concern is it needs to be, what's gonna happen if you're gonna have, all the agencies, I'm done, spreading your money so thin, you're not gonna have the near the impact I think you ought to have, and I just think it creates problems when you do, instead of doing, 10 great projects, and, doing 40 small ones, just my idea about projects. So I'd rather see some opportunities for larger amounts, so that way we can have a great impact. And it'd be less on staff too. I would suggest 100,000. I'll make a motion that we. One thing in mind, though, is it possible? After 100,000, size of the budget. Currently, percentage. Based on what we give someone, what their budget has to be. In other words, you know, if we give someone $25,000 and the total budget is 40.
A bit.
That was the
Sorry.
question.
No, sir, we cannot, but I will let staff speak to the specifics. Stay in my lane.
I thought I saw some different heads nodding in different ways, whatever.
Madam Chair, if I
You
may.
recognize.
Typically, also, one of the things we are looking at is there's questions about sustainability. There's also questions related to the history of the organization, and they have to have been in existence for at least 1 year. While that does not preclude some of the newer agencies who would have smaller budgets that have existed for at least 1 year, it's not typical. However, you know, if there's a desire for something like that, you could, you know, there would be the desire to say, you would have to decide, are we talking about their total budget? Because one of the things we also say is that we will not fund their operating budget. Those things are exempted from our process. So we do see what their budget is. But there's no specific requirement on how much of the project budget we will fund.
So we could possibly, say 5% of someone's budget.
Not operating, but you could of a project if the project is equal to their budget and if the nonprofit is smaller.
I apologize, I got lost. You made a motion, but I didn't know if somebody seconded.
I didn't hear a second.
Okay.
I made a motion for 100,000,
Okay.
but didn't get seconded.
All right. That motion dies for lack of a second. Yes, ma'am, Ms. English.
I'm sorry, thank you.
It's okay.
Also, kind of like last year, I know we had the emergency funds that we kind of set aside. And y'all follow me through my thought process, and you might want to help me with
You
it.
help me out. I don't recall emergency funds in
Well,
community.
they weren't, that's just my thought process.
Thank you.
That's why I
Okay,
said
I'm
help
with
me-
you.
Help me out.
Okay.
But I'm thinking about emerging needs, and this is just an example because I was just here. Let's say something happens like COVID, and we have Serve and Connect that's out there, and they have the ability to assist. Do we have anything like that, or does that not apply to us?
So I heard what you said, but I guess I'm not sure if that would apply
That
to the
it-
Community Impact Grant
Okay.
Committee.
All right.
But I hear what you're saying. I just don't think our committee would be the folks to necessarily take that on.
We're good.
Okay. All right, I'd like to make a motion to have the competitive grants organization can apply for funding up to 200,000 for only one project.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk.
Madam Chair,
I can't see. That's Ms. Newton. Okay, yes, ma'am. I couldn't see your hand. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I didn't think I was going to get to raise it fast enough on my phone. Just a question about your motion because I was cut out for part of the conversation. When you made your motion for $200,000 or up to for one project, is that with the idea that an organization could put in 3 proposals for 3 $200,000 projects, or is the idea that they can have a grant of up to $200,000 for any project, but the idea is that would be all that they were eligible for?
Correct. So right now, our application, we state that you can apply for funding up to an amount for one project, and so my motion was to change that dollar amount. The sentence after that reads that projects that focus on multiple areas are only eligible for one grant, and organizations may only submit one application annually.
Perfect. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on what all your motion meant. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Any further discussions? I'll ask staff, do they need any other clarification from the committee on changes to this application?
No clarification needed, Madam Chair.
Committee members, any further discussion on any items within the application? I do have one question that I want to pose to this group just to make sure we're all on the same page. So we are having this conversation because previously we had the community partners designation, and we stated that those folks that had the designation could have it for 3 years, and after that they could not apply. They had to sit out a year. And so we have now removed the community partners designation, but I would like to, get confirmation from this body on understanding of folks that have received continuous funding for the past 3 years. Do they have to wait a certain time period? Are they going to be continuously open, or are we going to set limits on how many consecutive years organizations can be awarded funding? Recognize.
Ma'am, I feel that because we set those guidelines in place and those people have been receiving funds for 3 years, I think we can stick with the 3 years. Those folks won't be eligible to receive funds for a year going forward. I think it's only fair if we operate in that capacity. That's just my thoughts.
Thank you, Vice Chair Pugh. Mr. Livingston?
Now, did we tell those folks they would not be eligible for this coming year? We didn't say that to anybody, did we?
So
We did say, I know it's for 3 years, they're not guaranteed anything,
Yes, sir.
but we didn't say they wouldn't be eligible to resubmit, did we?
I'm gonna ask staff to clarify. I thought I remember that it said you could have the designation for 3 years, and then after that, it would be reconsidered, so you may or may not be eligible. So, but help staff, please clarify, because the wording there, maybe I didn't say it exactly as it was relayed.
Madam Chair, in the guidelines, the statement reads, "It is the intent of council to reevaluate the list of community partners at least every 3 years. While an organization may be listed as a community partner, council reserves the right to modify this list as it sees fit to maximize community access to resources. County Council has a general objective to see a reduction of community partners' reliance on community impact grants for funding over time. Please note that no future council may be bound by the action of prior council." So it gives an indication that there will be a reevaluation every 3 years, but it does not necessarily specifically say that they would not be eligible
Okay.
in the 4th year.
That was my
Okay.
concern. Maybe we can operate that for future, but I don't want to do it without having said, that's all.
Thank you for that clarification. I do still, I guess, want to have the conversation, because now we don't have community partners, right? And so this language in that sense doesn't exist. And so having the conversation of, well, what is the language now moving forward for people in general for the competitive grants? Yes, sir.
I think one of the key pieces that we need to continue to look at is, Mr. Livingston asked a few minutes ago about sustainability. And so if we're asking the question about sustainability, meaning can you sustain your projects or the organization on your own without receiving funds from council, then we need to put some type of guidelines in place to help them with their sustainability going forward. And so, if we're talking about sustainability on one hand, and then we turn around and say, well, we don't want to exclude people from being able to apply for these grants, then why do we have the sustainability piece?
Yes, ma'am, you're recognized.
One of the things that is, and I think we've kind of alluded to this, is it's extremely important with all the people that we serve at Richland County. And we've said this before, we can't help everybody. There's absolutely no way. But when you have a 3-year commitment, well, I won't say a commitment, but when you have 3 years of financial support, there's got to be something in place to keep that agency afloat other than county dollars, because anything could happen. And if the county is unable to do it, what are you then going to do? And we think about it as going into this. How are you going to even get your agency off the ground or your program running if you don't have county dollars at all? Because everyone that applies doesn't receive county funds because we have a limited amount. So I do agree that it needs to be a time frame placed on it.
Okay, thank you.
Stop right.
Good discussion.
Let me
No, we're good on time, so feel free.
I mean, I really somewhat strongly believe that there should not be a time frame. If there's an agency that's doing wonderful things in this county, and I'm giving them 25% of their budget, whatever it might be, as long as they continue to do a good job and at the same level or a greater level, see, that's sustainability to me. Sustainability is not being able to just simply do without my money completely. It's just being able to continue to do what you're doing and doing it well. And if an organization is doing something well for the county and the county's going to miss that if they don't get the funds, they can get it for 100 years as far as I'm concerned. Just my philosophy about it.
Thank you for sharing your philosophy. No,
Right, well-
that was not like a laughing matter. That was very serious, because when you say it that way, it's a different spin on how I view sustainability, because I didn't view sustainability in that way. And so when you say it that way, I don't think, in my mind, that's not how I define sustainability. And so that's a different perspective. I would say that I didn't realize that's what you were saying when you referred to sustainability. Councilwoman Newton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to say that I think that it makes sense for us to be able to continue funding. Sorry, I'm at the airport. To continue funding nonprofits as long as they're doing good work for the county, but just to acknowledge that one of the trade-offs or one of the balances that I don't know how we can achieve in that is you don't want to create a sense of dependency where people feel like, oh, I've got this county money in the bag and I know it's going to be there. And then they're not taking other steps for fundraising or development or what have you. And so again, I think that we can change our criteria all the time. Sometimes with things like this, I've heard organizations say, oh, the county cut our funding, when no, the county didn't cut your funding. You got an award one year, but you may not get it another year. And so when it comes to the county, sometimes people get to a point where they become dependent or where they feel like it's a given or a guarantee for them. Whereas with other nonprofit funding sources, no one would ever feel entitled to a Duke Foundation grant or think that that was something that they were going to get forever and ever. Amen. So I'm not contradicting the idea that if people are doing good work, we need to be able to find them. I'm just acknowledging that it can create this tension. And I think that that's part of the tension that created the community partners in the first place, where basically there were so many organizations that were just used to counting on the county that nobody wanted to pull the rug out from under them. So I don't know how we achieve that balance, but I hope we can.
Thank you, Ms. Newton.
Madam Chair.
Hi, welcome, Councilwoman Teresa.
Thank you. I think I popped in just in time. So looking down this list, and I heard the full comments from Ms. Newton and have heard sentiments like that in lots of meetings like this. I would say that in all of those, the list of that 9,
Ms. Teresa, I don't know if you've heard the beginning part of our meeting, but this list of 9 doesn't exist, so I'm not sure.
okay, well,
we're
I'm
going.
looking at the agenda in front of me.
I understand.
Okay.
I'm just
so-
giving you background on motions that were made, and I
Okay.
just want to just
Okay.
carry forward. But this is not a discussion.
In looking at this list in front of me, there is one particular entity that I believe is a slightly different entity in that.
Ms. Teresa, I'm
yes.
just gonna stop you. I'm sorry. I really don't want our committees calling out particular organizations
Okay.
on this list. This list is no more in 2027.
Okay, can I make a statement
They
about
all
a
the-
board that I'm on?
Hold on. All organizations will have a competitive application, so I don't want it to appear that we are showing favoritism to anybody.
Okay.
That's all. So carry on. I just want to make that clear.
There exists a board that I, as a council member, serve on. That board has a council member assigned to it because it was created out of the desire of the county. I would say that I would not characterize that entity as dependent or not trying to raise its own money or not trying to leverage funds from whatever grants that it might get. So when characterizing certain groups and entities, I would just say that some entities have certain relationships because of the way that they were created and because they do also have council governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Teresa. Any further discussion? Does anyone have a motion they'd like to make? Hearing feedback from the body, I will attempt to make a motion from what I've heard. Based upon the current language that is shown or that we've used previously, I would like to remove at least every 3 years portion, but still keep the language that basically states that, county council is not bound to any funding, that you have to reapply every year, basically saying that this is not a guaranteed thing. I believe that it's already addressed in here, but I just want to make sure we're clear about it. Do you feel like that's already in there, that we need to make a motion?
I feel it's already in there as it's listed under the list that no longer exists.
Right.
Assuming council approves that action, then I would just say that we would leave that last line. It says, please note that no future council may be bound by an action of a prior council. And I think that's what you were just referring to.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion, or please let me know if that does not meet what folks were thinking.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
So the confusing part for me is that we got rid of the 9 community partners, right? And we're adjusting the language to exclude the 3 years, right?
Well, this motion would, basically that entire section would go, we would just keep the last sentence on the application.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I understand. Gotcha.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am, you recognize.
thank you. I wasn't able to find the raise my hand feature. Well, let me ask what that means when you say, please note that no future council may be bound by the action of a prior council. Is that year to year, or is that referring to the makeup of a council? Let's say it's the same members from the previous year. Would that still be considered a prior council? Does that make sense?
It does.
So I just wonder if you might want to be a little more specific in that the funding is not guaranteed from year to year.
yes, I think that's perfect. Sorry, Attorney Wright,
Yes.
you're recognized.
Well, I think legally, the law says that no future council may be bound by an action of a prior council, but I don't think it necessarily defines what that means. So I think in the law it says that, but it doesn't say that. What this means is that if the certain makeup or a certain percentage of the council changes, or certain members change, or is it the next year, it doesn't specifically say what that means, but it does make that statement.
I think that if you have an opportunity to be direct and clear on what you're saying, then you should take it. I don't think it should be left open to interpretation. So if it's not defined elsewhere, this is the opportunity for us to define it. I don't see any harm in stating that the funding is not guaranteed from year to year.
Right, Madam Chair?
Yes, you recognize?
Yes, and I think that there can be a statement added that says specifically what was just said, is that funding is not guaranteed to any organization from year to year. I mean, you can just say that pretty much, as well as have the statement that no future council may be bound by an action of a prior council.
And I understand that. I guess what I'm saying, for the benefit of the public, just make it plain.
Thank you. I think we can do that. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
would the maker of the motion be interested in taking the language that was shared by the council member and then adding that, to their current motion? That would certainly be an action that was still current. You have a motion to second, I think, already, so on the previous motion, but just wanted to bring that up as an option.
I'll be open for the change.
Right, second. Oh, I was the maker? Sorry, I thought you were the maker. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm amendable to the suggested change from Councilwoman Aileen.
Want to know if my second's still good?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All right, Madam Clerk.
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston, Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right. Hearing no other further questions or comments or motions related to item 4A, staff, anything else you need? All right, we're at item 5. That's adjournment.
Move, Madam Chair, for adjournment?
Second.
Motion is second for adjournment. Madam Clerk?
Pugh,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Motion approved.